Hi folks, John O'Leary from Horse Problems Australia, and welcome to this week's podcast, which is about our new DVD called Listen to Your Horses, filmed over 5 years and involving about 27 horses and investigations into why they were so-called naughty or problem horses. After a long career and many thousands of horses through my hands, I can pass on to you that there are no problem horses and there are no naughty horses. There are only confused horses or horses with veterinary afflictions of varying degrees, or owners needing information and education. Horses never lie. They always tell the truth, and if you can read them, which most people don't think that they can, they tell you everything you need to know, and especially when it comes to veterinary type afflictions or pain or discomfort in any way. And of course there are hundreds of thousands of horses around the world going around as we speak as naughty horses and being hit with whips and spurs, with people saying that they are bad or being difficult, when in fact all they're doing is communicating to people that they've got a problem. If we can learn to listen to them, they tell us everything, and therefore this DVD, which involved all of those horses that had previously been to vets and chiropractors as well, and all of them being proved after this DVD to in fact be unsound by follow-up veterinary investigations where we pointed vets to the place on the horse where the horse told us via the various signals that they give us and the body language. They were all diagnosed as unsound. The horse on the front cover, for those of you who have this DVD, is actually being filmed in Holland. And this horse was ridden by a member of the Dutch dressage squad for London, and this horse was communicating that it had problems, and of course people in Holland, a string of people in Holland did not listen to this horse, and recently this horse incidentally has gone lame and has been retired. Very sad case indeed. Went through about 7 or 8 riders, all who thought that they could ride through the problem with the horse. Today's subject is about saddle fitting though, which does not appear on this DVD. But we have this little darling here who's just been broken in or started and only been ridden a few times, an Australian riding pony, and a lovely girl indeed. No buck jump, no signs of buck jump at all. But she has signalled to us that she's not happy with a saddle. And so this podcast is about saddle fitting. The subject of saddle fitting is an imperfect science. And these days, a lot of people spend a lot of money and lose a lot of money on changing and swapping saddles, trying to get to the best outcome for their horse. Saddle fitters aren't trained to listen to horses, as vets are not either. And so this podcast is a recommendation to you that you stop and observe and listen to your horses, and they will show you what their problems are in life and point you to the direction of the problems that they have. And so I'm going to hand over to my wife now, and she's just going to talk to you about the difficulties in fitting this particular horse, which has been an extremely difficult thing, and in fact she's now being ridden in one of my half-breed saddles because the English saddles aren't fitting her at all, and to show you, hopefully, just briefly, how the horse will communicate to us that the particular saddle does not quite suit her, just to bring the point home to you, to save other horses around the world owned by people who may see this video. So I thoroughly recommend this. If ever you're going to buy a dressage horse, or any horse really, but in particular when you get up into the big money and the high brackets, this DVD could save you a fortune. Okay, thank you very much. Good girl. Good girl. She's a good girl.
Welcome back. So as you can see, this is a riding pony. She's quite short and she's very short in the back. The main problem with this particular horse is that she's got very little wither and she's got big shoulder muscles through here. And what I'm finding is saddles are tending to want to ride up her neck. The other problem being that often larger people are wanting to ride little ponies. And of course, little ponies are made for little saddles. So we've got a saddle that's been fitted for the rider, fitted by a saddler to this horse. But unfortunately, as we will demonstrate in a moment when we ride her, it is not an ideal fit yet. And so it will have to go back to be readjusted. So we'll put this on now. And we'll just have a look at how it sits on her when she's just standing still. Because this is what is the deceiving part. I find a lot of these saddles, and mine did the same thing, sit beautifully on her while she's standing still, but it's only when she starts to move that it affects her. Okay, good girl. Now you'll notice too, she's a bit of a young pony still, and so she is still growing, and at the moment she's slightly bum high. That doesn't help either, because that makes the back end a little higher, pushing down, making that saddle slide forward more. So over time, as she balances out, hopefully she'll become a little easier to fit. But right now, she is definitely a problem child. All right, Chills, let's move over. Good girl. Good girl. And notice we're just having a look at her body language as we are putting the saddle on. You saw she sort of had a little look at me with almost a bit of ears back. So that already tells me something, that she's not 100% happy. But she is a lovely girl. And like John said, she's not a buck jumper or bad. However, if we were to continue riding her in a saddle that is not comfortable, what you will find is she will become a problem. And so often, if we don't listen to them early enough, we can create our own problems. So just sitting here, this is roughly where the saddle should be sitting. It is sitting nice and flush under here. It's got plenty of room through the wither, so it's not squashing down on her. And it is actually fitting quite well. So we'll go and have a ride in this and show you how she reacts to it when we get going. We'll just bridle her, so we'll just cut the camera for a moment. Alright, so we're now arrived at the arena. I'm actually using a mounting block to get on her, only because the owner has asked that I teach her this. And of course it puts less pressure on the horse's back as well as we mount, so the saddle won't shift to the side, which is better for the horse. Okay, let's walk on. So, okay, we're going to have a little look at how she reacts to this saddle and what we are feeling. I'm just going to start off letting her just have a walk around, because obviously she hasn't warmed up yet. Good girl. Now the danger we've got with a saddle that rides up the neck is, of course, with the green horse especially, if she was to throw in a buck jump, the neck goes down. You'll actually find, and it's happened to me in the past, several years ago now, on a particular riding pony as well, that the saddle actually went over the horse's neck along with me. I was still on the saddle, but we both ended up on the ground, because if there is nothing there to stop it riding forward, as the horse puts its neck down, of course, we get dislodged. So as much as it's not comfortable for her, It's also not comfortable for us when things go wrong. So saddle fit is very, very important for safety. And like I showed you before up the top there, when we have her standing still, the saddle is quite good. It is only when we get moving, and moving at a quicker rate of knots, i.e. at trot and at canter, that you'll start to see the problem. So I'm going to collect her up a little bit now, and then we'll ask her to go forward to trot. Good girl, hey? She good girl? Yeah, good girl. That's the way. Okay, let's trot on. Okay, so we notice straight away the pigginess. Now that is not her at all. She didn't want to trot off. We'll go again. And so she is, I can feel she is riding with her bottom in the air and a tight back here. Now like I explained before, she is a nice girl and wants to do the right thing, but she feels uncomfortable. You'll also notice the posture in her neck. She's not wanting to stretch down and round, even though she has been coming on the bit. And so she's holding herself tight. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Here again, I can feel there, it's putting pressure on her shoulders. The bum end starts to come up. We get a little pig root type feeling. There again. And any time a horse starts to get a little behind the leg, it's an indication that there's a problem. Because they either rush or they get slow. But there, again, as I put leg on, she's putting the brakes on a little bit. And this horse is quite forward thinking. And so again, that isn't unusual for her. You see the odd swishing of the tail. And like I said before, she's such a nice girl that she's not going to display anything real bad. But what we will go and do now is we will take her in the round yard. I'll get off her, I'll lunge her to show you what this saddle is exactly doing under more pressure, because it's not fair to ride her with discomfort. And then you can see for yourself how this is fitting. So we'll progress to the round yard now and we'll see what we can see. Alright, so we've arrived in the round yard. We're going to now just send her on and get her really quite forward. And I want you to focus mainly on what that saddle is doing. Okay, let's go, madam. Walk on. And in particular, watch the back end of it start to come up and the whole thing shifting forward. Good girl. Canter. Good girl. And whoa, whoa. Good girl, good girl. Well done, good girl. Now, if you can zoom in on this, It's probably a bit hard to see on the camera, but now the front of the saddle here is sitting on that bulging muscle, and so the whole thing has shifted forward. You'll notice here the saddle blanket was further back as well, and so that is going to put a lot of pressure points on this part of her body and make her very, very uncomfortable. She actually is such a sweetheart that she's not going to show any more discomfort than she has. But if I was to continue riding in this saddle, we would end up with a problem, because it would become a mental thing over time. And so what we'll do now is we'll progress and we'll go and get the swinging fender saddle and see the difference in the horse. So we'll see you in a moment. Alright, welcome back again. This time we have one of our HP old models 14-inch swinging fender saddles on her, and we have upgraded since this model and also added to the range a short backed one. So this one's not, and ideally that would be more suited to this horse, because of course, like I explained at the tight rail, this horse is very short in the back, and so the more that's sticking out back here, the more uncomfortable, and it's sitting then a little bit back on her loins. So short back would be better. However, the difference between this saddle and that English saddle is just simply that it's not sitting on these shoulders quite as much, and straight away I can feel that this horse is thinking more forward and more free to travel. And so you'll notice in a moment when we start to work her again that she is a lot more willing to go forward, doesn't give you the ears back, and doesn't swish the tail half as much. So we'll go on and just work her around for a moment. Now this saddle still, like I said before, is a little bit big for her. It is a 14-inch, and you would not want to put a bigger saddle on her than that, because being a pony, that's just not suitable. Now you can see here, if anything, she wants to go a little fast. So definitely different to with the other saddle where she was trying to slow down too much. Here I'm not having to push to get her to go forward, she's going on her own. So that indicates to me that she is more comfortable to travel and more willing to travel. She still occasionally comes up a little in the neck, but I put that down to her still being a little green, and also the fact that she is still a little bum high, and for her to really round up is very difficult until she actually matures a little bit more. Now we slow down a little too much. Come on. Good girl. But the expression on the face is better, and the whole horse's display of attitude is better. And we'll have a little canter as well. And this is where you can see she canters a bit bum high, pushing saddles forward up her neck. And I would actually advise that until she grows a little more, we don't do a lot of cantering, because I don't think that's really beneficial to this horse at the moment. Good girl. Come on. Good girl. But see, she can there lower her neck a little. She can move freely. And so she's happy to keep going. Very good. Okay, and we'll... Good girl, trot on. Alright, so the moral of this story is, listen to your horses. They will communicate with you. They will tell you if something is not quite right, or giving them grief. And in case you have missed any of her little body language signs, we will re-show them now in slow motion. You're a bit worried about the cameraman, hey? the next podcast. Good girl.